Lakers are 9 games above 500, but they've lost 4 of 5. Brian, you had a pretty harsh critique of them earlier.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, if they played the Hornets in a playoff series, I think the Lakers have a hard time beating them. And it's not a commentary on anything other than the Hornets are a young athletic team. And when the Lakers play a young athletic team, they struggle. And the Hornets know they come into the game trying to play high tempo. And yeah, you're going to have games where you're going to have variance on whether your threes drop. But over the course of a series, you're going to have a hard time. And like, it's very hard for me to take a team seriously that's bottom 5 in defense. In as much as the Lakers got going for them, they're bottom 5 in defense. And guys, look at the schedule. Like, I know they've been a very good road team this year, and I applaud them for it. But I'm not sure they can keep up if they keep defending like this. They play 9 of the next 10 on the road. So this is just going to be very difficult for them to maintain this spot in the standings if they continue to defend like this.
Did you just have the audacity to call the Lakers a team? That's not a team.
Ouch.
That's a bunch of individuals. I'm willing to bet everything that I have that is not a group chat with the Lakers.
Careful what
It's got to be a group chat.
Well, if it is,
it may not be that active, but
what it is, ain't nobody saying nothing. I'm willing to bet there's no team dinners on the road. That's a bunch of individuals. That's showing up to work, do your job, everybody go their own way. And that's how they perform on the floor. That's when you have defensive teams that are with defensive individuals that look the way that they look, not on the same page, then they definitely don't have the chemistry off the floor.
I think certainly the beginning of the year, how this roster played without LeBron and where they were. I think 19-7 to start the season, 5-8 since. They haven't had a good win against a team above 500 since December 14th. But I will say this real quick.
Go ahead.
I think the Western Conference standings will keep them in it. Where they are in the top 7, like, I don't see them sliding out and still figure themselves out. They're not Oklahoma City, and they got things to work on here. And as Brian said, the next 9 games on the road is going to dictate a lot of things here. But I am probably not as down on them as probably maybe most people.
Well, and also they don't have Austin Reeves, and I don't know that solves all of their defensive problems that they're having here, but I do want to see a sample size with Austin back, and we're not going to see him probably at least until...
I'm going to try to maintain my composure for the next 5 to 12 minutes because Jonathan Kuminga demanded a trade today, as reported by Shams Charania and Anthony Slater. If you listen to the podcast, you know that his agent, Aaron Turner, came on with Anthony Slater to discuss Kuminga's contract situation last fall. It was one of my more remarkable podcasts I've done in the last 10 years at ESPN because we had an active negotiation basically taking place on the podcast, which is unusual. It was, something they wanted to do, And so, Bobby, you've been involved in many negotiations. You've been involved in many trade situations with players. I just want to point out that Jonathan Kuminga, regardless of what you think of him as a talent, regardless of what you think of him as how the Warriors have handled him, which we'll get into, he has not played in 13 games, okay? He could have played in a game about 2 weeks ago. Steve Kerr announced pregame that because the Warriors were resting players that he was going to play. And then he said his back hurt and he didn't play. You've heard of quiet quitting. The Warriors and Kuminga have quit loudly on each other. And we are talking about a player who is not playing for it. And this is not a comment on him as a person. This is not a comment on his situation. It's not a comment on his talent. We're talking about a player who is not playing on a team that Jimmy Butler says is mediocre, and Steve Kerr says is a fading dynasty, which both comments are accurate in my opinion. So, in what world does a player demand a public trade in a situation like this, Bobby? And I'm going to try to be quiet now and let your expertise in these situations take over.
Well, he could have just let me with my tweet last night at midnight at the Intuit Dome when I said, as the clock strikes midnight, Jonathan Kuminga.
Yeah, well, you weren't helping either with that tweet.
Jonathan Kuminga is now trade eligible along with 10 other players here. He could have let that just sit. And listen, when he signed the contract in October, after that long holdout or negotiation because he was a restricted free agent. We all knew that January 15th was going to be the day that we would be talking about Jonathan Kuminga. And as you said, it becomes public knowledge that he has asked to be traded, a player that started the first 12 games in Golden State and now has been a DNP, a marriage that has been fading for a long time. And as you know, is definitely broken right now. I think it will be interesting. The veterans have said they want resolution. I think it'll be interesting to see.
So do I.
I think it will be interesting because, listen, teams know that Golden State, they think they has to trade Jonathan Kuminga. And I think if you're Mike Dunleavy Jr., their GM, you do want to trade Jonathan Kuminga. But what is coming in, right? Like, what are the offers that are coming in that where you don't have to take back money or where, the goal is to get front court help. But every whether it be Sacramento or some of the other team, they all got guards. Like, I don't know how many more guards this Golden State team needs and everything like that. But we have 3 weeks roughly to the trade deadline here. But I do think it's not something that all of a sudden Mike Dunleavy wakes up this morning and be like, oh my God, we got to trade him. They've been lining up scenarios probably since the start of the season, or even when he signed that contract.
Wendy, I feel
staying quiet, Vince.
I feel conflicted about this in a way. Don't stay quiet, because Wendy, we have made our bones in this business, being in locker rooms of contentious.
Thank God he made the trade demand. Nobody would possibly know that he wanted to be traded.
Not at all. No body language, none of that, right? There's two schools of thought here, and two things can be true. That Jonathan Kuminga is not the greatest fit and has never been the greatest fit in the Golden State Warriors system, and maybe hasn't necessarily always tried to be in service of all these other guys. You're basically saying, young player, we want you to come in and be in service of Draymond Green on one end, be in service of Stephen Curry on the other end, and to that end, that equals what? That's very difficult in today's NBA, where your contract is going to be measured on how you perform individually, and tell them to do that, and then you win a championship in your first year. So you're like, okay, I've done things in service, now it's my time to do that. Secondarily, if the organization has long known that this player is not a good fit, it should have never gotten this far. Period. It should have never gotten this far. And teams, and Bobby, you can speak to this, teams are so afraid of making a mistake. They're so afraid of letting the guy go too soon that they don't want to cut bait before, NFL, they'll cut you a year before as opposed to a year late. And usually that refers to like age and performance, not necessarily fit. But this has been bad fit from the beginning. They should have never drafted his ass to begin with. Like, we can just say that. They should have never drafted him to begin with, whether it was a 2 timelines or not. And they have not wanted to come off of that mistake, whether that's, the owner, whether that's, Bob Myers before and, Mike Dunleavy Jr. now, whatever it was. This move should have been made years ago. And now I don't feel bad for either party because this move has been so long. Y'all ever had a woman quiet quit you? Y'all are too old to have a woman quiet quit you.
No, I don't think so, but...
Yeah. If the answer is no, then if you're not sure, the answer is no. Being quiet quit ain't fun. They just tell you that. It ain't fun. So
I've got some friends where it's happened that I've dealt with tangentially. So, but I got you. I got you, Vince.
I'm just
saying.
You
need to hit me up offline. I'll help you out.
Well, doesn't that make, like, what, Vince, to your point, like, and I know we play Monday Morning Quarterback and we look at everything that's happened in Kuminga's situation, and I wonder if you gave Mike Dunleavy Jr. a truth serum right now, it's like the whole restricted free agency process here. Now you're, I don't want to say stuck with a $22 million player. And as I said, like, what happens if you can't trade him and you basically, the situation continually evolves with that locker room? It's almost like part of you thinks that would you rather just have had him not on the roster this year? And I know you look at him as a trade asset and he's restricted and you can parlay him into something here. But that's going to be on the other end, it's like, well, we would have probably been better off not even just having him on our roster.
Yeah, well, I would just say the team that really wanted him was the Sacramento Kings, right? They wanted him in the summer. And according to Slater and Shams reporting, they still want him now. And the Warriors had a standard that they wanted for the deal, and they wouldn't do the deal. There may be another team or two that has interest, but with all due respect to my former colleague here at ESPN, Scott Perry, the Kings are not known for being thought leaders. So, I mean, like, what does it say that, like, people aren't beating down the doors for this guy when he was a restricted free agent?
Well, I wouldn't say that's fair. When Scott just got there, you can't put 20 years of Kings ineptitude on one executive when that mess is a mess. I don't think Kuminga necessarily takes a big leap away from the mess, but I don't think he adds to it either. Like, they're going to have to, in theory, come up off of Malik Monk. Like, they have a glut of guards as is. They aren't the most athletic. You know what I mean?
I'm just saying, like, there isn't robust interest in him, because if there was, he would have already been traded or signed by somebody else last summer. Right?
So you're
That
saying
doesn't
he's a
mean that
player that's not of value?
I'm saying that why has this led to so much consternation? Like, if he is a player of value, the struggling Warriors would be playing him.
Listen, they're. I looked at the numbers this morning. They're 9 points better when he's not on the floor.
I mean, what are we talking about? You know, I mean, like, again, like, Aaron was really great to come on the podcast. It's not personal, okay? I will say this. So every week I do a Q&A on Threads, okay? I guess it's a plug. If you want to go over on Threads, you can find me, you can send me a message. My colleagues who help me do that, they say to me every single week, guys, for months on end, they get like oodles of questions about Kuminga. Like, every week for months. I don't get it. I know the Warriors have a big fan base. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he gets relocated in a year from now. I turn in my All-Star ballot and I'm like, Jonathan Kuminga, beautiful story. What am I missing? I mean, he's a fine player, but my God.
I have a question, Wendy. And I don't like to play devil's advocate because the devil doesn't need an
Yes,
advocate,
you do.
Right?
All right, that's a nice turn of phrase, but yes, you do.
Thank you. We are turning the Warriors into this infallible organization that doesn't make mistakes. And
well, that's
we're saying
true.
because no, I'm just saying, like, the general tone of it, not from you, Wendy. The general tone of it is, man, if you can't fit in there, then it's a problem with you. But there have been players, really good players, who have not fit in there. Like, you remember the Kelly Oubre year where he didn't fit in there? And now, like, granted, it's 3 or 4 years later, he's in Philly, a valuable reserve, a valuable player there. Like, I think sometimes we have to take a step back and say, hey, this can be a good player, a productive player, not leading player, but a helpful player in the right situation. And this situation with Draymond Green, who can't shoot, and Jimmy Butler, who doesn't shoot, isn't going to be conducive to that for this particular player. And it doesn't make the player bad or organization bad. It just means that these two people shouldn't be together. That's all.
Fair point. We've done our 12 minutes. I'm prepared to move on. I wish the Warriors, Jonathan Kuminga, his representation, Shams, Slater, the Warriors fans, the citizens of Santa Clara, the citizens of Northern California. I wish you the best in this process as it unfolds.
Listen, my friend, in about 2 hours in the A and the C block, we like, save yourself here.
I mean, like, seriously, the A and the C. So, like, this is high-level TV parlance. Generally, over the course of an hour-long show, there's 5 blocks. A, B, C, D, E, high-level stuff there. Let's pull the curtain back a little bit. When we have a really interesting topic on NBA Today, what we do is we have it in the A block, and then we, what they call, retreat it in the C block. The reason they do this is because even in today's day and age, people tend to come to television shows on linear at the top and the bottom of the hour. And so if it's your big story, you come back to it when you hit about the bottom of the hour to re-engage the audience. And many, many days, it's good, smart business. Jonathan Kuminga is getting the A and C treatment today, Bobby.
Yes, he is. Hey, he's even getting the trade machine touchscreen treatment, Brian.
Well, in all honesty, I need that. I'm prepared. Because actually there is some intricacies with that because the Warriors are so close to the aprons and they can't take back more money. And I want to see where he could go. I think, not to glaze you as they.
The Los Angeles Lakers find themselves at a fascinating inflection point where the front office must balance short-term championship aspirations against long-term roster sustainability, navigating the treacherous waters of the trade deadline with limited assets, but clear, positional needs that have been exposed repeatedly throughout the season despite flashes of brilliance when the roster is healthy and clicking on both ends of the floor. What makes this particular trade deadline cycle so intriguing for Lakers fans and NBA observers alike is the convergence of multiple potential pathways the organization could pursue, from swapping out their current starting center for a more athletic rim-protecting alternative who better complements the pick-and-roll heavy offensive system, to leveraging their distant future draft capital in creative ways that maximize immediate return value, to targeting specific high-impact wing defenders who could transform the team's perimeter defense overnight while fitting seamlessly alongside ball-dominant creators like LeBron James and Luka Doncic, who need floor spacing and defensive support rather than additional offensive responsibilities. If you want to stay fully informed about every potential trade scenario and roster construction strategy the Lakers are exploring as this critical deadline approaches, make sure to smash that like button right now because it helps us continue bringing you detailed analysis and insider perspective on everything happening with your Los Angeles Lakers. The first major proposal that has generated significant discussion involves a potential center swap with the Cleveland Cavaliers that would send DeAndre Ayton and Gabe Vincent along with the Lakers. 2031 first-round pick to Cleveland in exchange for Jarrett Allen. A move that on the surface might seem like an incremental upgrade, but upon closer examination represents a fundamental shift in how the Lakers would approach their interior defense and vertical spacing around their perimeter creators. Before diving into the merits and drawbacks of this specific framework, it is important to establish the baseline that DeAndre Ayton has actually exceeded expectations for what the Lakers paid to acquire him this past summer, providing solid, if unspectacular, production as one of the better free agent center signings available during the offseason and delivering value commensurate with his $8 million salary, even if his performance has been inconsistent and his motor has fluctuated wildly from game to game. The fundamental question is not whether Ayton has been disappointing, because by most reasonable measures he has been perfectly adequate for the price point, but rather whether the Lakers would benefit more from having a different type of center, whose skill set and playing style better aligns with what Luka Doncic needs from his big man to maximize offensive efficiency while also providing more reliable rim protection on the defensive end. Ayton recently posted back-to-back strong rebounding performances with 31 total rebounds across 2 games before struggling against Charlotte, which demonstrates the maddening inconsistency that defines his overall body of work, where he will dominate the glass and finish efficiently around the rim for stretches before disappearing entirely and showing minimal effort on possessions that require maximum energy and engagement. Jarrett Allen represents a distinctly different archetype of center, someone whose game is predicated almost entirely on effort, athleticism, vertical explosiveness, and defensive positioning rather than offensive skill development or mid-range shooting touch. Allen stands 6'9" or 6'10" depending on the measurement. Slightly shorter than ATN, but compensating with a massive 7'6" wingspan that allows him to contest shots and finish lobs despite lacking elite height for the position. This season with Cleveland, he is averaging 13.5 points, 8 rebounds, 2.2 assists, 1 steal, and 0. 7 blocks in just 26 minutes per game while shooting an elite 59% from the field, though his three-point shooting is essentially non-existent at 14% and his free throw percentage sits at 75%, which are both areas where Ayton holds advantages. The statistics on paper actually favor Ayton in most categories when you compare raw production numbers, which is why this trade proposal might initially seem puzzling or even counterproductive. But the case for Jarrett Allen rests not on superior counting stats, but on playing style compatibility and proven track record in winning situations. Allen has been a starting center on legitimate playoff contending teams for multiple years, earning an All-Star selection and finishing 10th in Defensive Player of the Year voting during the 2023-24 season, while also receiving DPOI votes in 3 separate seasons earlier in his career when he was with Brooklyn, demonstrating a sustained track record of elite-level rim protection and defensive impact that goes beyond simple blocks per game. Averages. The blocks numbers are admittedly disappointing this season, with Allen averaging below 1 per game, but he has posted seasons where he averaged 1.5 to 1.6 blocks during his Brooklyn tenure, and more importantly, his defensive impact extends far beyond what shows up in the block column through deterrence, positioning, and communication that makes teammates better defensively. The offensive fit is where Allen's value proposition becomes most compelling for a Lakers team built around elite playmakers who thrive in pick-and-roll situations and need vertical spacing to unlock driving lanes and paint touches. Allen is a far superior lob threat compared to Aiden, someone who can catch anything thrown in the general vicinity of the rim and finish above the rim with authority rather than trying to execute counter moves or putting the ball on the floor where turnovers will become likely. Luka Doncic in particular has shown noticeably better chemistry with Jackson Hayes precisely because Hayes is a pure vertical threat who keeps plays simple and finishes decisively. And Allen represents that same archetype except with significantly better hands, positioning, rebounding, and defensive awareness that makes him a legitimate starting caliber center rather than just an athletic backup. The challenge with this trade framework is the inclusion of the 2031 first-round pick, which represents extremely valuable long-term capital that the Lakers would be surrendering for what amounts to a marginal upgrade at the center position between 2 players who are roughly the same age at 27 years old. The calculus changes significantly if the Lakers are able to execute their reported strategy of converting that distant 2031 pick into multiple earlier first-round selections that carry less individual value but provide more immediate flexibility, similar to what Phoenix accomplished when they traded their 2031 pick for 3 first-rounders in 2025, 2027, and 2029. If the Lakers could flip their 2031 pick to a city or another team for 2 firsts in 2028 or 2029, then using one of those picks to acquire Jarrett Allen becomes significantly more palatable because you are not surrendering a premium asset that projects 7 years into an unknowable future. From Cleveland's perspective, this trade makes considerable sense as a roster reset that allows them to center their front court around it. Mobley, while clearing Jarrett Allen's extension money of roughly $28 to $30 million annually over the next 3 years, which handcuffs their financial flexibility and limits their ability to make other moves around their core of Mobley and Donovan Mitchell. The Cavaliers have been mediocre this season, and the Jarrett Allen plus Evan Mobley frontcourt pairing has clearly run its course without producing championship-level results, so acquiring an expiring contract in ATN along with another expiring in Gabe Vincent plus a valuable future first gives them flexibility to either extend Ayton at a reasonable number or let both contracts expire while maintaining competitive relevance this season since Ayton provides similar production to Allen in most statistical categories. I believe this trade represents sound basketball logic. If the Lakers can protect the 2031 pick with top 5 protections, and if they genuinely believe Jarrett Allen's motor, defensive track record, and lob threat ability would unlock another gear for Luka Doncic's offensive efficiency. But surrendering an unprotected distant first for a 27-year-old center whose best attribute is effort and athleticism carries significant risk if Allen's production does not noticeably elevate once he changes uniforms. The additional roster spot created by sending 2 players out for 1 allows the Lakers to potentially sign another veteran minimum contributor like KJ Martin, who could provide wing depth and athleticism, which adds marginal value to the overall transaction. But ultimately, this comes down to whether you believe Allen's playing style is substantially better suited to maximize Luka's abilities compared to what ATN provides at a significantly cheaper long-term cost. The second major storyline involves Rob Pelinka's reported strategy to convert the Lakers' 2031 first-round pick into multiple earlier selections that would provide more immediate ammunition to pursue high-impact wing defenders like Herb Jones or Andrew Wiggins without completely depleting the organization's future draft capital According to reporting from Kevin O'Connor, who has proven track record with Lakers information, including calling the Luka Doncic pursuit a full year before it materialized. Pelinka is actively shopping the 2031 pick 2 teams around the league in an attempt to replicate the Phoenix model, where a single distant first becomes 2 or 3 picks in the late 20s that arrive much sooner and can be packaged together in trade proposal. This strategy makes eminent sense from an asset management perspective because a 2031 pick carries enormous uncertainty given that it projects 7 full years into the future when the league landscape, salary cap structure, draft pool, talent level, and Lakers' organizational standing could look completely different than today's reality, converting that single high variance asset into multiple lower variance picks that arrive in 2027. 2028 or 2029 provides the Lakers with actual usable trade chips rather than theoretical value that only matters if they are willing to part with it in a blockbuster deal. The challenge is finding a trade partner willing to make that swap. With Oklahoma City representing the most logical candidate given their massive war chest of future picks and their ability to absorb long-term assets without immediate competitive pressure. The reporting indicates this draft capital manipulation is specifically designed to create the package flexibility needed to pursue elite wing defenders, who would command multiple first-round picks in any trade negotiation. With Herb Jones from New Orleans emerging as the primary target based on mutual interest between player and organization, Kevin O'Connor explicitly stated on his podcast that Herb Jones and the Lakers have mutual interest in making a deal happen, which represents the first concrete indication that Jones's camp is actively seeking a trade to a contending situation rather than remaining. With a Pelicans team that has been devastated by injuries and headed for lottery positioning rather than playoff contention. The evidence supporting Jones's desire for a trade extends beyond insider reporting to his actual playing time, as he has not appeared in a game since facing the Lakers in their most recent matchup, despite being healthy enough to play 30-plus minutes in that contest after missing the previous 9 games with injury. The timeline is almost too convenient to be coincidental, with Jones returning specifically to play against the Lakers in what looked very much like an audition where he could showcase his defensive versatility against elite offensive players, and then immediately shutting it down again once that showcase opportunity concluded. Jones was not placed on a minutes restriction during that Lakers game. He did not suffer any in-game injury that would explain his subsequent absence, and the Pelicans have not provided any medical updates that would justify keeping their best perimeter defender sidelined while they desperately need his production. Herb Jones would represent a transformative addition to the Lakers starting lineup because he provides exactly what this roster construction desperately needs: an elite point of attack defender who can check opposing teams' best perimeter scorers while also spacing the floor adequately from the corners and operating effectively within the flow of the offense without requiring plays called for him or needing the ball to be productive. Jones made the all defensive first team during the 2022-23 season when he played 76 games for a Pelicans squad that made the playoffs before losing to Oklahoma City in the first round after Zion Williamson suffered an injury during the play-in tournament against the Lakers, demonstrating his ability to anchor elite-level team defense over a full season rather than just flashing potential in limited stretches. The hypothetical starting lineup of Luka, Austin Reeves, LeBron James, Herb Jones, and DeAndre Ayton would rank among the better two-way units in the entire Western Conference, providing elite offensive firepower through the primary creators while also possessing the defensive versatility to switch across multiple actions and match up against the kind of dynamic offensive attacks that dominate playoff basketball. Jones shoots 36% from 3 over his career on reasonable volume, which is more than adequate for a role player whose primary responsibility is defending at an elite level while making simple reads on offense and converting open catch-and-shoot opportunities when defenses collapse on the stars. His lateral quickness, length, strength, and defensive instincts make him capable of checking everyone from smaller quick guards through bigger wings without creating mismatches that opponents can exploit through hunting switches. The challenge with acquiring Herb Jones is the price New Orleans would demand, with reporting suggesting they initially sought 2 first-round picks for his services, which the Lakers simply cannot provide unless they successfully execute the draft capital conversion strategy discussed earlier. If Pelinka can turn the 2031 first into 2 picks in 2027 and 2029, then packaging those picks along with salary matching pieces like Gabe Vincent and Jard Vanderbilt or Max Christie creates a framework that New Orleans might seriously consider, especially if they're resigned to losing Jones anyway and prefer extracting value now rather than watching him walk in free agency or forcing an uncomfortable situation to continue. The third significant target that deserves serious consideration is Ayo Dosunmu from the Chicago Bulls, a player who represents the kind of high upside secondary acquisition that could address the Lakers' catastrophically bad bench scoring while also providing defensive versatility and ball handling ability that opens up different lineup configuration. Dosunmu should not be the primary trade deadline target ahead of someone like Herb Jones or Andrew Wiggins, who would slot directly into the starting lineup. But if the Lakers can acquire him for a second-round pick and salary matching in a 3-team framework, or through a standalone deal, he represents tremendous value as a bench spark plug who can create his own offense while also defending multiple positions. Dosunmu is averaging ridiculous efficiency numbers this season despite coming off the bench for Chicago and playing just 26 minutes per game, shooting 51% from the field as a guard, which is almost unheard of, nearly 45% from 3 on solid volume, and 86% from the free throw line, which demonstrates legitimate shooting skill rather than just small sample variance. Those percentages combined with his 6'4" frame, his ability to attack downhill and finish through contact, and his secondary playmaking ability make him exactly the kind of underrated role player who could thrive in a reduced responsibility situation where he simply needs to provide instant offense alongside other creators rather than carrying significant on-ball burden. The Lakers bench ranks dead last in the entire NBA in scoring production, which is an absolutely damning indictment of the roster construction and a glaring weakness that opposing teams exploit mercilessly during playoff series when rotations tighten and every possession becomes magnified. Dosunmu provides the kind of instant bucket-getting ability that the Lakers completely lack outside their starting unit. Someone who can come off the bench and drop 20 points on efficient shooting while also playing competent defense and making simple reads as a passer. Chicago has an overcrowded backcourt with multiple ball handlers fighting for minutes, which creates opportunity for the Lakers to pry Dosunmu loose without surrendering significant assets. And his youth at just 25 years old, along with his team-friendly contract, make him an ideal target for a team. Trying to balance present competitiveness with future flexibility, thinking about the broader strategic picture, the Lakers face a critical decision about whether to pursue incremental upgrades like Ayton for Jarrett Allen or adding Ayo Dosunmu to the bench versus going all in on a franchise-altering move for someone like Herb Jones, who would fundamentally change the team's defensive identity and championship ceiling. The reality is they probably need to do both, finding a way to land an impact starting wing defender while also addressing the bench scoring crisis, which requires creative asset management and potentially multiple simultaneous transactions that leverage different combinations of expiring contracts, draft picks, and young players to construct packages that work financially and competitively for all parties involved. I believe Rob Pelinka deserves credit for thinking creatively about how to maximize the value of limited assets through strategies like converting distant draft picks into nearer-term capital that can be deployed more aggressively, and the mutual interests between Herb Jones and the Lakers represents exactly the kind of alignment between player preference and team need that can override pure asset calculus if both sides are motivated to find common ground. The Lakers are not as far away from contention as their recent losses might suggest, having posted a 9 games over 500 record despite playing only 7 total games with their big three of LeBron, Luka, and Austin Reeves healthy and available, in making the right moves at this deadline to add defensive versatility and bench. Scoring could genuinely elevate this roster into legitimate championship conversation rather than just hoping to survive the play-in tournament and steal a first. Round series